afternoon, children. Welcome to online class session 31. Previous session we discussed about Attorney General, Judiciary, Supreme Court and its powers and functions. Today we are going to learn about economics, new chapter, globalization and trade. In this, first we are going to learn about globalization, history of globalization, trade and traders in South India. Liberalization, privatization and globalization (LPG) have become much talked of subject among the politicians, economists and businessmen in modern days. These three expressions are the supporting pillars of new economic policy of our government. It has been erected and implemented since 1991. Globalization. What is globalization? Globalization is the process of integrating various economics of the world without creating any barriers in the free flow of goods and service, technology, capital, and even labor or human capital. Under globalization, the international markets for goods and service are integrated. Globalization is the integration of a country with the world economy. Basically, globalization signifies a process of internationalization plus liberalization. The history of globalization. The term globalization was introduced by Professor Theodore Levitt. The historical background of globalization can be discussed on three stages. Stage 1, archaic globalization. Stage 2, proto-globalization. Stage 3, modern globalization. Stage 1, archaic globalization. An early form of globalized economy and culture known as archaic globalization. It existed during the Hellenistic age, when commercialized urban centers were focused around the axis of Greek culture, over a wide range that stretched from India to Spain, with such cities as Alexandria, Athens and Antioch as the center. The trade link between the Roman Empire, Parthian Empire and the Han dynasty made the commercial links between these powers inspired the development of Silk Road. The Islamic Golden Age was also an important early stage of globalization. The advent of Mongol Empire, though destabilizing the commercial center of Middle East and China, greatly facilitated travel along the Silk Road. These pre-modern pace of global exchange are sometimes known as archaic globalization. So, archaic globalization is the early form of globalization, economic and culture. Second one, proto-globalization. The next phase is known as proto-globalization, and it was characterized by the rise of maritime European empires in the 16th and 17th centuries. It was followed by the Portuguese, the Spanish empires and the Dutch and the British empires. Globalization became private business phenomenon like British East India Company. It was founded around 1600 AD. It was a multinational company, and it was followed by the Dutch East India Company. It is formed in 1602 AD. In the 16th century, the Portuguese started establishing their trading posts and factories in Africa, Asia, and Brazil. So this type of globalization is called proto-globalization, and this is between 16th and 17th centuries, followed by European nations. Next, the modern globalization. The 19th century witnessed the advent of globalization approaching the modern form. Between the globalization in the 19th and in the 20th century, there are significant differences are there. There are two main points. One is global trade in his centuries as well as capital, investment and the economy, and another one is the global trade in the 20th century. It shows higher share of trade in merchant production, a growth of trade in services, and the rise of production and trade by multinational firms. Multinational trade contracts and agreements have been signed, like General Agreement on Tariff and Trade and World Trade Organization. From 1890 up to World War I, instability trade was a problem. But in the post-war period, there has mostly been economic expansion which leads to stability. Technological changes have caused lower transporting costs. It takes just a few hours to transport goods between the continents today. So, the modern globalization developed very fastly in the world. Next, the trade and traders in South India, historical perspective. South Indian trade guilds were formed by merchants in order to organize and expand their trading activities. Trade guilds become channels through which Indian culture was exported to other lands. South India trade was dominated by the Cholas, and the Cholas were replaced by the Pallavas. The early traders in South India. In the year 1053 AD, the Kalinga traders, that is the modern Orissa, brought red-colored stone decorative object for trade, and also cotton textile to Southeast Asia at an early date. Several trade guilds operated in medieval southern India, such as Gatrigas, Nagaras, Ayoval, Chetis, Biurdas, Gavaras. Some trade guilds, such as Nakaras and Gavaris, they met only in the temple premises. That means temple festivals, they sold their product at that time. Next, the European traders in South India. This was due to the trading activities of various European companies which came to India during this period. The various European companies are British East India Company, Dutch East India Company, French East India Company, etc. The discovery of new sea route from Europe to India via Cape of Good Hope by Vasco da Gama had far-reaching result on the civilized world. India's coastal and maritime trade was monopolized by the Europeans. First, the Portuguese came to India. The Portuguese, under the leadership of Vasco da Gama, landed at Calicut on 17th May 1498. Profit of goods brought by Vasco da Gama to Portugal were to 60 times cost of the entire expedition to India. The arrival of Pedro Cabral in India in 1500 AD and the second trip of Vasco da Gama in 1502 AD led to the establishment of trading station at Calicut, Cochin and Kannur. So these places are located on the west coast of India, that is Arabian Sea coast. Cochin was the early capital of Portuguese in India. Later, they shifted their capital to Goa. Next, the Dutch East India Company in South India. Dutch undertook several voyages from 1596 and formed the Dutch East India Company. In 1605, Admiral van der Hagen established Dutch East India Company at Masulipatinam and Nizampattinam, Devanampattinam. In 1610, they negotiating with the king of Chandragiri found another factory at Pulikat. So the first factory established at Masulipatinam and the second factory was established at Pulikat. The other commodities exported by the Dutch were indigo, saltpeter and Bengal raw silk. Pulikat was the headquarters of Dutch in India. Nagapattinam on the Tanjore coast acquired from the Portuguese in 1659. So Dutch also established their factories on the east coast of India. Next, the British East India Company in India. On 31st December 1600, Queen Elizabeth granted a charter to East India Company. That means she gave permission to the merchants of East India Company. On the southeastern coast, the English established a trading center at Masulipatinam in 1611 and Pulikat in 1626. The Sultan of Golconda granted the English Golden Fireman in 1632 by which they were allowed to trade freely in their kingdom ports. In 1639, they built a fortified factory in Madras which known as Fort St. George, which soon displaced Masulipatinam as the headquarters of the English settlement on the Coromandel coast. So likewise, the British established their trading center and factories in South India. Next, the Danes in South India. The Danes formed the East India Company and arrived in India 1616. The Danish settlement were established at Tranqueir in Tamil Nadu in 1620, which was the headquarters of Danes in India. They failed to strengthen themselves in India. So they left to India and they were forced to sell all their Indian settlement to the British. So they went from India. Next, the French East Indian Company in India. The first French factory in India was established in 1668 by obtaining permission from Sultan of Golconda. In 1693, the Dutch captured Pondicherry but was handed back to the French. In 1701, Pondicherry was the headquarters of French. After 1742, political motives began to overshadow the desire of commercial gain. So recently, the government of India has set up special economic zone in South Indian state, especially in Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Karnataka and Kerala with a view to boost export. Nanguneri, Ennur, Coimbatore are some of in Tamil Nadu. So that's all for today's class. Thank you.